Hello and welcome to Listen to Ladybird. I'm Paddy and today I'm going to read to you from Ananse and the Sky God. This is a story from some African countries. Ananse is a well-known folk figure and there's lots of stories about him. And Ananse is a spider. He's a Spider-Man, but not like the Spider-Man you might know from the comic books. This is a much older story. Wow, look at that. Beautiful peacock and loads of butterflies. Amazing. There are many stories about Ananse the Spider-Man. They come from Africa, but are known to children all over the world. This is one of the stories. It tells how Ananse went to the Sky God to ask for some stories for the children of the earth. And it tells how the Sky God's stories came to be known as spider stories. Once the children of Earth had no stories. The Sky God had all the stories, and he kept them by his chair in his house up in the sky. Here are all the stories. He's keeping them under his chair. He's not even reading them. That's very greedy, I think. Ananse the Spider-Man knew about the Sky God's stories, and he wanted them for the children of Earth. "I know what I can do," said Ananse. "I will go up to see the Sky God and ask him if I can have some of his stories." Ananse spun a web that went up into the sky. Up and up and up it went to the house of the Sky God. You can see the Sky God's foot there. And there's Ananse going up his spider web. Up went Ananse the Spider-Man, up the web to see the Sky God. The Sky God was big. He looked down at little Ananse. "What do you want, little Spider-Man?" he asked. Ananse looked up at the Sky God. He said, "Please, Sky God, I know you have some stories, and I want some of them for the children of Earth. What can I give you for the stories?" The Sky God laughed at Ananse. "You are a funny little man," he said. "That's not very nice." "I will tell you what I want for my stories, little Spider-Man," said the Sky God. "I want Osebo, the leopard with the terrible teeth, Umboro, the hornets that sting like fire, and Mwatier, the fairy that no man sees. If you can get them for me, then I will give you some stories for the children of Earth." And the Sky God laughed and laughed. He's laughing because he doesn't think it's possible to get any of those things. It doesn't sound possible to me, but let's see whether Ananse can do it. "Yes," said Ananse, "I will do as you ask." The Sky God laughed more and more. "How can a little man like you get me such things?" he asked. "Osebo the leopard will eat you, or Umboro the hornets will sting you. And as for Mwatier, the fairy, no man can see her, so how can you get her for me?" Ananse said nothing. He went down the web, down and down and down he went, down to the earth, to look for Osebo the leopard with the terrible teeth, Umboro the hornets that sting like fire, and Mwatier the fairy that no man sees. "I can get them," he said. "I know I can." Who's this? Some kind of creature. Any idea who that is? Not much idea myself. First Ananse went to look for Osebo, the leopard with the terrible teeth. He saw him sitting by a tree. Here he is. Doesn't look that terrible, but maybe he is really. "Have you come for tea, little Spider-Man?" asked Osebo. "We will see about that," said Ananse, "but first I want to play a game with you." Osebo liked playing games. "What game do you want to play?" he asked. "This is the game," said Ananse. "I will tie you up by the feet. Then I will let you go, and you can tie me up." "This will be fun," said Osebo. He wanted to tie Ananse up and then eat him up. But Ananse tied Osebo up first, and then he tied his feet to a tree. There he was all tied up. Soon I will take you to see the Sky God, said Ananse. But first I must go and look for Umbero, the hornets that sting like fire. Do not run away, Osobo. And he laughed at the leopard tied to the tree. Poor leopard. But he did want to eat Ananse, so that's probably okay, isn't it? Ananse walked on. Soon he came to a banana tree. This will help me, he said. He took a big leaf from the banana tree. Then he went to get a hard calabash shell and put some water in it. Now I will look for Umbaro, the hornets that sting like fire. Look at these enormous leaves, massive, and a big flower. Ananse walked on. Soon he saw Umbaro, the hornets that sting like fire. He put a banana leaf up over his head and poured some of the water from his calabash onto the banana leaf. It looked like it was raining. There's the calabash. And there's all the hornets in their big nest. Ananse poured the rest of the water over the hornets. It's raining, he said to the hornets. Get into my calabash, little hornets, to keep out of the rain. Thank you, Ananse, said the hornets, and in they went, one after the other, to keep out of the rain. Look at them there, all flying into his calabash shell. He's just sitting there watching them, even though they sting like fire. He's very brave, very clever. Now all I have to do is to keep you in there, said Ananse, and he put a cork in the mouth of the calabash. He took the calabash to the tree where he tied Osobo, the leopard with the terrible teeth. He tied the calabash to the tree. Soon I will take you to the sky god, said Ananse. But first I must go and look for Umwatiye, the fairy that no man sees. I bet those hornets are angry inside that calabash shell. You can imagine it buzzing. Ananse made a little doll with a bowl in her hand. He put glue all over the doll, and then he put some cooked yams in a bowl. There are the yams in a bowl. This is the doll. He took a vine and stuck one end of it to the little doll's head. Then he put the doll down by a tree with red flowers around it, where the fairies like to play. Ananse took the other end of the vine and went off to hide. Soon Umwatiye, the fairy that no man sees, came to the tree with red flowers around it. There she is, so we can see her in the book, even though no man can see her. She saw the doll sitting by the tree and stopped to see what was in the bowl. Here's the doll and here's the bowl. And here's Umwatiye looking at the yams. Umwatiye looked at the yams and her mouth watered. She liked yams. Please let me have some yam, said Umwatiye to the doll. Ananse pulled the vine and made the doll's head go up and down. It looked as if the doll was saying yes, nodding her head. Umwatiye took some yam and put it in her mouth. It was good. Umwatiye took some more yam, then more and more. Look at her hands full of yams. Soon Umwatiye had eaten all the yams. Thank you, she said to the doll. The doll said nothing. Thank you, said Umwatiye again. Once again the doll said nothing. Umwatiye was getting angry. Talk to me, she said, but the doll said nothing. Talk to me, or I will slap you, said Umwatiye, but the doll still said nothing. So Umwatiye slapped the doll, and do you know what happened? Her hand stuck to the glue that Ananse had put all over the doll. She's got stuck. Umwatiye was getting more and more angry. Let go of my hand, or I'll slap you with my other hand, she said. But the doll could not let go, so Umwatiye slapped her again, and her other hand stuck to the glue. Now Umwatiye was as angry as a fairy can be. She kicked the doll with her feet, and her feet stuck to the glue. She looked so funny with her hands and her 2 feet stuck to the doll. If you can see, they're quite small there, but she's got her feet and her hands stuck to the doll. Ananse looked out from where he was hiding and saw that Moitié was stuck. Ananse laughed at Moitié. "Now I will take you to see the Sky God," he said, "but first come with me to get the other things I have to take with me." Ananse took Moitié to the tree where he had tied Osebo the leopard and Umboro the hornets. Then he spun a web that went up into the sky. Ananse pulled Osebo, Umboro and Moitié up the web and into the sky. He put them down at the Sky God's feet. There's a foot, very big foot. "Here are the things you asked for," said Ananse. "Osebo the leopard with the terrible teeth, Umboro the hornets that sting like fire, and Moitié the fairy that no man sees. Now, will you give me some stories for the children of Earth?" Is he going to keep his word? The Sky God saw Osebo the leopard, Umboro the hornets, and Moitié the fairy. Then he looked down at little Ananse the Spider-Man. "Yes, Ananse," said the Sky God, "you have given me all the things I asked for. Now I will give you all my stories. From now on they will be known as the Spider Stories." Ananse was pleased to have the stories. He took them down to the children of Earth. Now children all over the world know about Ananse, the Spider-Man, and all his adventures. Look at all these stories he's got. Maybe that's why we get stories like the ones I'm reading. Thanks to Ananse. Another peacock. Thanks for listening.